It is Jilly. It is Luther. He is here today, fresh off a fun day at Best Little Doghouse.
He loves it.
Which is Luther's favorite place. It's where a Luth can be a Luth. How are you today, Jilly?
I'm good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it. I love to hear that you're doing good. I love it, I say. I'm glad that Luther's doing good. I'm glad that we're all doing good and we're having a blessed day. Had a nice day at the radio station. Had a good show today. Had some fun times. Had some great times. We had some great times.
Great times, huh?
I mean, it was pretty wacky. The whole ordeal today was pretty wacky. I didn't even tell you about this because I forgot to. So, it's the 1 month anniversary of the Josh Ennis show on 97.5.
A month
so it's
already.
Very big month, obviously. So, what had happened was, I asked, there were some people bitching about one of my opinions, so I said, listen, it's been a month in, so I'm looking for someone who likes the show versus someone who doesn't like the show, and I want you guys to debate on the air.
Oh, how'd that go?
Well, I'm glad you asked. It started out about as normal as you can start out, one kind of buffoon that liked me with one buffoon who didn't, and they started going back and forth, and I told them I wasn't going to intervene, so I just let them go. It's one of my favorite things to do is let
'em go.
callers just
Yep.
go. It's one of my favorite bits. So I'm sitting there watching this kind of go down, between these two guys. And one guy, they both sound hammered. They both just sound like kind of hammered bumpkins. So one guy eventually hangs up and the one guy stays and a black guy calls. And when I tell you that this guy is like this well-read kind of like scholar of racial studies that calls. So he just is very calmly kind of lecturing this kind of hayseed bumpkin guy
Now,
that was on there.
Was the black guy a fan of yours or not?
He wasn't not a fan. He was kind of like, I agree with you that we need to have conversations and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The guy who was a fan of mine, though, was like an absolute hayseed, sounded hammered. And I let these guys talk for about 15 minutes without me interfering, right? The first two guys went for 10. This segment went half an hour and I never talked. So the best part of this, the highlight of all of this black guy asks this kind of hayseed bumpkin guy, he goes, let me ask you this, sir. Do you believe that slavery happened? And the guy, I forgot I forgot the exact wording he used when the guy asked him that.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of, oh, God, if somebody was listening today, remind me of what the guy said. Because me and AJ were making fun of it whenever AJ came in. Oh, gotcha. Thank you, Joe. I knew Joe would know. He's like the class factotum over here. But he goes, sir, do you believe that slavery happened? And he pauses and he goes, to an extent.
Oh, my God. And this is the guy that loves your show, huh?
Well, here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
So do all these other people in here, and they're very smart, level-headed people. I can't help who likes the show.
Okay.
But I just sat there for half an hour and just let these guys talk, and it was like old school Josh Ennis fun is what it was. And the reason I kind of like it, too, is because producer Nick has never got to experience that, right?
Right.
So, to him, it's all new, and I think that's kind of why I enjoy it. Like, if Adam Regner or Jim or somebody had been part of that, they'd kind of be like, they'd be like, okay, it's another day at the office, but he hasn't really seen it. Now, MW Soulgrove says Nick really couldn't have picked a worse guy for that segment. Here's the thing. Nick doesn't answer the phones. There are interns that answer the phones. That's why it takes an hour to get somebody up on the phone, because they're going through this whole process with these interns. So that is not Nick's fault. Nick does not answer the phone. Now, when Free Speech Friday goes to shit, that is Nick's fault. He is in control of those phones, but he's not in control of answering the phones and screening phone calls. It's a different dynamic over there. Now, before we get into anything else, going, I do have to tell you about Dr. Busby and ToeGrips.com. Luther, of course, fresh off a trip to Best Little Doghouse, and I was asking them how Luther was today at daycare, and they go, well, Luther, he just followed us around.
Do you think they're like, why do you even ask?
Probably.
Like every day this guy asks, like, hey, so did Luther play today? Did he have a good day?
Yes.
And it's always either, well, he got a lot of pets, or, well, Sheena was here, so he was happy about that.
Well,
or that's about it.
Well, that's one of those things where whenever the random time they will say that Luther was wrestling and stuff, it's like a huge day.
Yeah.
Right? So, but anyway, but Luther was running around with the ladies, playing around with them. And of course, you can go to the website, toegrips.com, Dr. Busby, and get the Encore Mobility Luther takes. That Encore Mobility, it's the best supplement for joint pain in dogs, and it's not just about the dog's joints, right? They've got that green-lipped muscle and New Zealand deer velvet, which is a novel ingredient not found in the big name joint supplements in the U.S. And Dr. Busby, of course, learned about this product over 3 years ago from an Israeli veterinarian at a veterinary acupuncture conference. She's gone through the whole process of getting certified with the FDA and USDA. It's a great little tablet promoting hip and joint flexibility. It restores mobility and comfort and renews vigor and vitality. Of course, you can get that at toegrips.com. You can get the actual toe grips, which can help your dogs walk on hard floors, who might be struggling due to age, arthritis, injury, surgery, disability. That can help. So much. Dr. Busby is such a caring individual,
She is.
such a good individual, such a wonderful person who truly cares about dogs. She doesn't have to reach out about Luther at all. She's not his vet, but she's always asking me about Luther, seeing how he's doing. She's wonderful. And if you go to the website, toegrips.com, and use the promo code Luther, that's Luther, 10% off site-wide. And of course, there's the 30-day money-back guarantee. Dr. Busby is spectacular. She's amazing. We love her. Luther loves her. Check out the site, toegrips.com, 30-day money-back guarantee, 10% off with the promo code Luther. All right, looking at some of the stuff. People are asking me if Angelo's getting canceled in Philly. Did Angelo do something?
Remember the last time he got in trouble for saying that the athlete should basically shut up and dribble?
Well, I think now, from what I think Adam Prophet sent me this today, is that Angelo shut down his Twitter. According to Crossing Broad, he deactivated his Twitter.
Finally
now, the
happened,
one thing
huh?
about deactivating your Twitter, and this is important to note, if you deactivate your Twitter, you do have like 10 days to reactivate your Twitter, right?
And then you don't lose anything, I believe, right?
Correct. So I don't know if it's just a bit. I don't know what's real with Angelo because Angelo is like a giant act. I don't dislike him, but he is a giant act. So everything is calculated. Angelo is not a person who does things on a whim. And like, if Angelo says something, Angelo has thought about what he's saying. Like, Angelo is not an on the fly, don't have a plan type of guy in my experience with him. Angelo is a dude that is very well thought out. I mean, a lot of what his show is, everybody knows the bit going into it. Like me, I like to do the show where nobody knows what the bit is.
Right.
So like everybody's kind of surprised and everybody gives an organic reaction. Everybody's into that. Like that's how I am. Angelo, from what I gather, his show is everybody kind of knows what's coming. It's kind of not scripted. That's not fair to say because it's not like completely inorganic. But it's a show where everybody is kind of in on it and he kind of knows what direction they're going to go with a lot of stuff. Me, I like the mystery of it. I like the surprise of it, and I like to surprise people, and I like to have it go that way more so. So, but apparently he deactivated his Twitter account, and I don't know if that's going to mean anything. I don't know if Angelo is canceled. I seriously doubt it. They're not going to cancel the guy that generates the most revenue of any sports radio personality in town
Well, again,
by a mile.
I
So
think-
they're not. It would take some serious shit for that to happen.
I think when they say canceled, they mean the internet has canceled Angelo.
That's what I mean. But I mean, usually when I think of canceled, that means it got so bad that the internet's canceled him, and then the radio station has to respond and also cancel him, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. No. That's firing. Canceling and firing, two different things.
Well, I don't know. People mix their
In these
words up
worlds,
all the time.
yeah.
So, but listen, that dude ain't going anywhere unless he wants to go somewhere from WIP. Nobody else in Philly comes close to generating that kind of revenue on the sports side. Like, I hear that Missinelli generates decent revenue. I can assure you that Missinelli doesn't even generate half of what Angelo generates. That show is a gigantic behemoth in terms of money that it generates. It also costs a lot of money to run that show. Angelo makes over $1 million. I would guess that Rhea and Al are in the couple 100,000 range. I don't know this for a fact, but I mean, if you've been at the same place for 25, 30 years, and you've been doing the same show and it's morning drive and you're on the number one sports station and at times the number one station in town, they're not working for 70 grand. Like, I would bet that his board op was making more money than I was when I was at WIP. Like, that's like, they're a big time show. So it would take a lot. It would take a lot to get him bumped off the air. And the thing is, Angelo doesn't say anything controversial. Like, saying that they should, like, fire a coach is not controversial. Angelo, I think, deep down is a liberal type. Like, he's not your right-wing conservative. Now, maybe fiscally he is because he's rich, and you know how I feel about rich people. They're all conservative in that way. But I don't know this for a fact, but I just, based on what I've heard Angelo say on the air, Angelo, while maybe not woke, Angelo is someone, like in the Missinelli sense of being woke, he doesn't say anything, I don't think, racially or anything about politics that would lead him to being canceled by the angry mobs on social media.
But again, he tweets it. What he got in, well, not in trouble, but what I think has started this whole cancel wave was the thing where he was like, all right, I forget the exact tweet, but it was in essence, shut up and dribble for athletes. And then Ike got mad at him, if you recall.
Yeah.
That was on social media. I don't know how he conveyed that on the air, but again, as you've learned, you type it on social media, those are the ones that are going to gain the traction.
Yes. So, and he did. His was about about players going back to playing, and then that led to, you want him to shut up and dribble and blah, 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 blah. So, but Angelo ain't going anywhere because they'd be stupid to get rid of him. He recently said the country needs to get back to sports and stop with the protests. That might be why he got canceled. Again, I don't think he got canceled for something that he said 2 weeks ago. Because, I mean, has he been on the air? Has he been working? From what I understand, the next day, Ike was on the show giving him a lecture about it.
Well, again, there's a difference between canceled and fired and suspended. Canceled means the internet can cancel you. The internet's already canceled Taco Bell today. The internet's already canceled.
What did Taco Bell do?
They fired the kid because he wore the Black Lives
that.
Matter mask. So, like,
Yeah.
the internet can cancel every other day. Some sort of pop artist is canceled. Like, it doesn't mean that you're fired.
No, I get that, but it's gotten mixed up in here because some people are saying canceled, some people are saying fired. So, again, Angelo, I don't believe has been canceled by the internet, and I don't believe Angelo has been fired by WIP.
Pretty sure not.
There we go. Solved. Got it. Thank you. But I don't believe that to be the case. Now, the main thing that got the show going today on the 97.5 show was the Florida thing, the Florida Gator bait thing being banned.
Right.
Christ. I truly believe, and here this is how I view things.
Do you kind of now see our friend's point yesterday, which was you give an inch?
You know what? Before I even get into that, I think I actually need to apologize to MW Soulgrove. MW Soulgrove, I know you're in there. I see where you're coming from now.
Yep.
You give an inch and take. But here's the thing. I don't believe in this particular case, just like I don't believe in the Mrs. Butterworth part, or because obviously Mrs. Butterworth was canceled today as well, or is it on the verge of being canceled today?
They're redesigning because they feel the bottle is problematic.
I don't understand how a bottle, if the bottle is problematic, then syrup is problematic because it's brown or tan or whatever color it is. So whatever. But, so if Mrs. Butterworth is canceled today, then we start looking at other cancellations potentially, like the one with Florida where gator bait is apparently now offensive. Although the president of the University of Florida has said there is no indication whatsoever that chanting gator bait is racist in any way. And I've never heard that before. Now, I don't live in Florida, but I've never heard some things here's a good judge. If it looks if you as someone who's not in the area or you as someone who is detached from it can look at it and go, I can see where that might be an issue, then maybe it's an issue. But if you're not near it, if you have to dig into the deep annals of history to find out what this could mean, and then after you find out what it could mean, you still go, that's kind of a reach, then nothing should happen.
Well, that's what I'm curious about. Was there even a petition to get this changed?
That's
I
the
don't think
question.
there was. I think this was just the university taking an abundance of caution because everything's getting canceled these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because you heard about the eyes of Texas are upon you. You
Yep.
heard about renaming buildings at Clemson.
Yep.
You did not hear, and I think we would have heard about the gator chomp being, or what is it, the gator bait,
Yep.
which is the chomp
And then they
as
do
well.
the chomp and they yell
Yes.
gator bait and
So
all that.
I think we would have heard of that if there was a petition to get that changed. So So I really think in this instance, perhaps the university is doing what the Mrs. Butterworth people are doing, and just out of an abundance of caution, just changing it.
Or maybe one person mentioned it, or there was like a small little movement on the internet that nobody saw.
Or
like
some guy who works in the office was like, FYI. And they're like,
this is one of the more bogus ones I've heard, though. Like, allegedly, this is the issue with gator bait. That small black babies were used as bait for gators back in the 1800s. I seriously doubt that anybody associated with the University of Florida has ever looked at that in any other way other than you're in the swamp. Then why not change the name of the swamp? Because where do alligators live? They live in a swamp. If alligators live in a swamp, where were those babies in the 1800s thrown? Into the swamp because they were gator bait.
We should probably just kill all the alligators, too. Get rid of them.
Obviously, and any sort of alligator cartoons like Wally Gator, although you never see Wally Gator anymore anyway. But my point is, and I know that Meltzer was ripping me on Friday for this, and I think Meltzer may come up to the station tomorrow for what it's worth, but Meltzer was ripping me for this, kind of. He says that, because I was talking about the buildings thing, and my argument for people that want to change the name of buildings is, if you're on a campus that's named after someone who owns slaves, then why not just go all the way in and try to change the name of Clemson if you're going to go all in? Don't just focus on one building, change everything. Why pick and choose certain things? Swing for the fences, dude. Try to get it changed. The way I view it with Florida is when you have to dig that deep and you have to dig so deep that so many people have no clue what this could mean and you have to reach to even create a racial angle with it, then nothing should change. Then you throw in the fact that the president of Florida said, yeah, it's not racist, but we're just going to change it anyway. Just in case. It's like I went to LSU. If tiger bait starts becoming offensive, if Chinese bandits becomes offensive, or for that matter, the LSU Fighting Tigers. The Fighting Tigers were a Confederate army. They were like a group. They were Confederates. The Fighting Tigers.
You gotta
so you're going to change the name? Like at some point, you have to acknowledge that none of this matters. It means very little, and it's just a distraction from actually achieving a greater goal. Because if you actually have to fix things, that's difficult. If you can change the name of a building or get rid of a gator bait or tiger bait, or if you can go out and eliminate some sort of insensitive monument, that distracts from getting anything actually accomplished, because there are things that do need to be accomplished. There are things that need to be fixed. We can talk about those, and those are great things to talk about. But all this is politicians and people on the internet kind of pandering and posturing, trying to distract from getting anything actually done. Because it's easy for a dopey politician to stand up and say, guess what I did today? I was able to get a building name changed, or I changed the fight song at Florida, or I did this. And people say, yes, that guy is proactive, and that guy is down with the cause. Then in 4 years, the people that are poor are still poor. The people who are rich are still rich. The cops are still killing people. There's still people out robbing liquor stores and holding people up at gas stations. And the world's no better place. There's still poor people. There's still haves. There's still have-nots. Nothing's actually gotten done. That's the issue I come down with. So people want to rip me, and people want to say, oh, you're bigoted because you're fine with names on buildings being named after races. If you wanted to dig deep, you can take money. Slave owners are on money. Then change the money. Change the names of these universities. Change their mascots, which are all rooted in some sort of racism. So get rid of all of it. I'm not going to sit here today and tell you, man, good for Florida for changing gator bait. Where does it end? Where does it stop?
My guess is they're still going to chant gator bait.
Oh, and I would imagine they would. Just like, they don't want them to do neck at LSU, but they still do. But when I go back to that initial point, okay, the initial point yesterday was that if you give people an inch, they take a mile. I don't even know. Like, I think people want you to believe that this is angry black people that care about this. And maybe there are a handful. This is not like an angry group of black people. This isn't a Black Lives Matter thing. Black Lives Matter is its own thing. And this is not angry black people on Twitter. I truly don't believe that.
I don't think it is either.
With stuff like this, it is white people who have this desire to basically turn themselves into racists so they can then reform right before your very eyes.
I believe that's the white guilt.
It is, and it isn't. I've got to come up with a better name for it, but it's this ability of white people who want to step up and say, all right, gator bait. No one views gator bait as racist. Maybe a handful of people. And you don't change shit for a handful of people. But they probably see, okay, a handful of people are offended by this. So here's my opportunity to basically turn myself into a racist and say, I feel terrible because I've been saying gator bait and I'm offensive, but I'm going to stand up and say that this needs to change today.
It's just like the Lady Antebellum thing. I'm sorry, Lady A.
They're the worst. You
Lady
know how I feel
A.
about it. They were looking for some sort of attention because their career is stiffed out. So they created a world where, oh my God, we're racist and we were wrong. Ain't nobody in the world looked at Lady A and was like, boy, those are some bigots right there. But then, like, white people are very fascinating. Not all white people, but woke white people. They're a very fascinating group of people. And by that, I mean this. They maybe have never done a bad thing in their life, might have 1,000 black and Asian and Hispanic friends, and they might just be good, straight up people, never committed a crime or anything. But for whatever reason, they feel like they have to tell people that they're racist and create racist moments, build racism so they can play the white savior and come in and say, I have sinned, but I bow down before you and you deserve better than this. It's part of the social media culture where people need to get likes. It's part of this white guilt is part of it. It is so bizarre.
You have to prove you're an ally.
Correct. And the only way to prove you're an ally is to make sure you've create something racist that you have done so then you can turn back around and then say, I did this wrong, but I have seen the error of my ways and I am better now.
I've educated myself.
I have educated myself and I am better now, and I will do everything I can to make my life and your life better so we can all come together. It's all bullshit. It is all bullshit. That is all it is. And I refuse to create a world where I've gone out and been a horrible human just for the sake of getting the acceptance of a group of people who don't even really give a shit about it. But it's weird, man. Do you really believe that there's some black folks upset about Mrs. Butterworth? Aunt Jemima, maybe, because as we talked about, there is a history with Aunt Jemima where it is a minstrel show character. And I can at least entertain that, right? And I could say, if you see if that's problematic, okay, it's pretty documented, whatever. But Mrs. Butterworth? No, I've never heard. Tank. Tank is in love with Mrs. Butterworth. Would Tank be in love with a racist symbol? I don't believe he would.
And I believe the company said the whole point of Mrs. Butterworth was to kind of be like a sweet grandma.
Yes.
I don't know. Is Mrs. Butterworth black? She's not even black, right?
I don't think Mrs. Butterworth. Now, maybe she's just doesn't have a race.
She can be whatever your race.
Whatever.
Your
Maybe
is.
it's in the eye of the beholder, like Mrs. Butterworth. But I don't believe Mrs. Butterworth is even black. I told you one of the voices of Mrs. Butterworth was Mary Kay Bergman. Mary Kay Bergman worked with my dad on a couple Scooby movies. She was the voice of Daphne. She was also the voice of some of the women on the early episodes of South Park. Basically all of the women, Stan's sister, I think she was. She was on there, and her name's Mary Kay Bergman. Now, basically days after I spoke with her on the phone, my dad put her on the phone with me, and he's like, Josh, guess who I'm with? I'm like, who? It's Mary Kay Bergman. Do the voice. And she does Stanley and all that. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. Haha. And then not too long after that, she shot herself or something and died.
Did you say your dad's launched a new fake news program?
It's like a Saturday Night Live. It's like a weekend update.
Oh, we should watch it.
I'm going to watch one of them here. We'll do that here in a second.
Yeah.
But I tell you all that to tell you this. Mary Kay Bergman, who is a red-haired white woman, was the voice of Mrs. Butterworth at one point.
Well, that's even more problematic if it turns out that Mrs. Butterworth is black.
But I don't think that Mrs. Butterworth is black.
You don't know. You don't know.
I'm fairly certain. And then the other thing we discussed in relation to this is just how nobody really cares. And I know we discussed it because I saw maybe Lesbian Rachel basically lift my opinion on Twitter. So, I must have talked about it today. But I was talking about how, black dudes don't give a damn if you're out playing for the Redskins. Who cares if that's an offensive name? We're cool with that. And who cares if we're banging war drums when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? Nobody cares about that. But gator bait becomes a thing. Nobody really cares about anybody else's group.
Right.
People care about their own group, right? Do you think that Black Lives Matter people are also while we have you, Native American lives matter too. They don't give two shits about Native American lives or Hispanic lives or Puerto Rican lives, Mexican lives, whatever. They don't give a shit about that. Nobody does. People give a shit about their own group. All right, now before we get into other things like trying to find Dad's weekend update, like Dad calls me yesterday, and I knew he wanted something for me to listen to. Because the only time my dad calls me is when he's got something he's doing
And he thinks it's hilarious.
and he wants me to hear it.
Yes.
So we'll get to that in a second, and I'll explain. But let's see here. Who do I have to tell them about, Jilly?
We're going to start with Colonial Concepts and Design.
Colonial Concepts and Design. Is Mike in here today? I don't think he is. I haven't seen Colonial Concepts and Designs Mike in here today. But he's in the business of making your house in the Philadelphia area, or Delaware Valley area, look really nice. Say you got a lot of outdated stuff, and given the fact that you're in Philadelphia, my guess is your house is very outdated in a lot of ways. But say you need to work on the, the floor and wall, the kitchen and bath, cabinets and countertops. Like, I've discovered that countertops are a huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you look at, like, the floor and, like, the kitchen, to me, is a big selling point on any house, right? Like, I look at a lot of houses, like any of the towns we're considering moving to, I'll just go to Zillow and look at the houses, right? So as I start to look at these, the kitchen, and we're going to rent, obviously, at least to start. If I see ugly floors, crappy countertops, I'm kind of like, I'll be good. Well, let's say you have a house and you own the house and you're looking to make it look spiffy. They can do it all for you over at Colonial Concepts and Designs in the Delaware Valley area. 15% off your total labor costs if you mention you're a supporter of the Josh Ennis Show. And, of course, you can see their YouTube channel. Their YouTube channel is loaded with videos that you can watch and see the work they've been doing and see the evolution of some of these houses, these transformations of these houses. But it is our friends over at Colonial Concepts and Design, 609-849-7558, 609-849-7558. And the other good part is they've been here since the beginning, and Mike is going to stay around, and he's awesome. So, all right, what's next?
Concrete Chemistry.
Concrete Chemistry, the newest addition to the GIST family. It is Concrete Chemistry. By the way, guys, there's those T-shirts. We keep selling them. Somebody asked about that a few minutes ago. If you guys want to post the link to the T-shirts on there, we keep selling them, and I'm going to check with Shelby, but I think they're starting to get those out either today or tomorrow. They've been printing, and everything is awesome. So, but Concrete Chemistry. We talked with Eric from Concrete Chemistry on our Drunken Friday show.
It was fun.
Which, speaking of
and
the drunken...
also, that was Saturday.
Sorry, that's how drunk I was. Didn't know what day of the week it was. Our Drunken Saturday show, we talked with Eric Daly from the Concrete Chemistry, telling us about how he's doing a job where he's putting in some real industrial-looking floors inside a house. Talk about good-looking floors. There you go. And they'll help you out in the Philly or Houston area. And they design and install resinous and polished concrete floor systems for commercial, industrial, and institutional applications. And since COVID is still a thing, virtual job site walks and virtual project estimates by Google Duo. All you have to do is give them a call, 713-497-4701, or check out the website, concretechemistry.com. I want those floors in my garage, says Pogabuckin. Pogo Buchan. Well, there, I don't blame you. Those are good-looking floors. Reach out to them. See what's going on. Do it. But it's 713-497-4701. Eric Daly. He is a good dude, big part of GIST Nation, just like all of you. So GISTers help GISTers out.
They do.
Again, 713-497-4701, or you can go to the website, concretechemistry.com. Should we do another one here or what?
Sure.
We only have one or two?
We have
Two more, so give me another one.
Prime One Consulting.
Prime One Consulting. That is Prime, the numeral one Consulting. I haven't talked with Jay. I gotta text Jason today and see how Jason's doing. He's one of the original sponsors of the podcast. And he is in the business of mold. Make sure your house is not filled with nasty, disgusting mold. There's a chance it is. And listen, if your AC is more than 8 to 10 years old, if you've had recent water damage, don't wait until you see visible damage. Give them a call at Prime One Consulting, and they will come to your house and try to find the problem. And the problem probably is nasty, disgusting, vile mold. We breathe it in. I mean, listen, let's be real. Our house has had some issues. We've had AC issues. We've had water issues. We've had them all. But Jason came over, did the air swab, did a tape lift sample, then showed me the outdoor sample compared to the house, and it's amazing. I'm like, dude, the inside's really, really rough. But they do a great job. It's a quick procedure. And then within 24 to 48 hours, you get all the lab sample analysis. They do an awesome job. And if you're experiencing headaches or you have immune-compromising illnesses, or if you're renting or selling a property or buying or selling a property, you need to have a mold inspection done, and nobody does it better than Prime One Consulting. That's Prime, the numeral one consulting. You'll save $50 if you mention the Josh Ennis Show. So get that healthy air, breathe healthy air, get it now. $50 off for healthy air. Call today, 281-545-5005. 281-545-5005 or Prime, the numeral one, consulting.com. It is our friends at Prime One Consulting. Thanks to Jason. Reach out if you need to have some work done. Now, as I was saying a little while ago, if my dad calls me, it's never just to talk. And the only time, I'll take that back, and thank you for the bits, spank it, slap it. If my dad does call just to talk, it's because he's bored and nobody else is picking up the phone. Other than that, he will call me for no other reason other than he needs to share with me what his latest endeavor is. So, like, I'm on the phone with him yesterday.
And lately, he hasn't been bored because he's always shooting the Go Fishing the movie.
Correct. That's been his big thing, obviously, is Go Fishing the movie. So he's smart, though. He doesn't just call up and go, here's what I'm doing. He acts like he gives a damn about what's going on in my life. So I'll be like, hey, Josh, it's Dad. What's the latest with you, bud? What are you,
Find a job yet?
Found a job yet? And I'm like, no, Dad, still looking. And in the middle of the word looking, I'm not even finished with that word. Yeah, that's great. All right, check this out. So, you know Saturday Night Live? I'm like, yeah, Dad, I know Saturday Night Live. Remember when Chevy Chase used to do that fake news on Saturday Night Live? I'm like, yeah, Weekend Update, what, everyone else after him has also done. Yeah, that's it. Well, Josh, you're going to love this. I'm doing like a fake news on my Facebook page, and people are loving it, and they're all over it. And then he just starts going into his jokes. And I don't know how he's got them all memorized.
So you're already to know that you've already been spoiled with this video.
Well, I don't know if it was this one or if this was the one he was about to do. This was back on June 16th. It's called WBASS TV5. So WBASS TV5 with Action News angler Scotty Thibodeau in the news segment number 1. It's called In the News. If you don't like our news, then kiss our bass.
Okay.
Is what it says.
Is that like a tie-in to Go Fishing?
Funny you should ask. He says, well, what I'm doing is my boy here, I am playing the same role on this as I am in the movie.
Okay, so his character in the movie is delivering the news.
But no, well, yes, but it has nothing to do with the movie.
But is the character's name in the movie Scotty Thibodeau?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So anyway.
I just wanted to make sure I understood.
All right.
So this is not Scott Ennis. This is Scotty Thibodeau.
This is Scotty Thibodeau.
From Go Fishing.
From Go Fishing the movie.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what this fake news. It's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Dad's wearing like a suit jacket and a tie, but he's also got a hat on that's on kind of sideways with a fishing hook on it, and he's got his giant beard because he has to keep his beard for the movie, okay, for continuity purposes.
Right.
All right, so let's see what WBASS TV5 sounds like.
I'm Scotty Thibodeau for WBASS TV5. Kiss our bass. Don't forget to like on Facebook. Go Fishing the movie.
Plug.
In the news, ladies and gentlemen. With the country in the shape that it's in and everybody's forgiven everybody, Timothy McVeigh, David Koresh, and Jeffrey Dahmer have all been deemed saints by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. He said he hopes that the country can see these guys were just misunderstood. In other news, the statue of Rocky in Philadelphia will be moved to a basement at a neighbor's house due to the fact that, it's been deemed too patriotic. The CEO of McDonald's is asking that all people who are rioting to please stop on by and rip out their shake machines. He said they don't work and they're too costly to get them fixed. And he also suggests that they'd look pretty good being thrown through a Wendy's plate glass window. Even with COVID-19, Chick-fil-A they're still printing more money than anybody else. And even God took a job through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A. Says it's the safest place on earth. A Walmart spokesperson is asking that the people who are protesting peacefully outside the stores, that stealing the 70-inch flat-screen TVs on the inside of the store is still a crime. Also, due to the continued concerns of the coronavirus, the state of Louisiana is asking people, just for the time being, to please riot in your own homes and tear up your own crap. In Washington, the Democratic Party is still outraged over President Trump for holding that Bible outside a historic church, more so than they are the fact that the rioters set it on fire. Singer Taylor Swift said she's outraged at all those Confederate statues in her state, and that once she can find out where they're at and what they look like, she plans to write a song about it. She also wants people to know that there's no truth to the rumor that she is trying to become the poster child for white privilege. And just because her daddy paid $10 million to get her a record deal doesn't mean anything. Scotty Thibodeau for WBASS TV5. Don't forget to like Go Fishing the movie on Facebook. And we'll catch you tomorrow night. Like we always say, kiss our bass.
You know, if the Swifties got a hold of that.
Oh, I know. Then it would blow up.
It would. It would. It really would.
Not good. Not good. Poor dad. Daniel Bachelor's in a real fucking mood tonight, by the way.
Why?
He's just ripping everything. He's ripping me and ripping Dad's stupid bit and saying I'm talking too much and shit.
It's a podcast. How are you talking too much?
He's like, your story's too long, and I'm like, damn, Daniel Bachelor. I think
what are
he
we
might be
supposed
drinking.
to do? Just sit here in silence? It's a podcast. Play the record, I guess. Like, what are we supposed to do
I don't know,
here?
man. But he does not seem like he's in a good mood today, and that's our guy. You know, that's our buddy that we had on that one night. But he's seemingly angry. But anyway, so also on the show on 97.5 today, we were doing a bit where, since we were talking about the 1 month anniversary of the Josh Ennis show on 97.5, because I like to, like, it's kind of an initiation almost. I like to put guys like Nick in a situation where now they have to, like, basically because we can't, what am I thinking here? Since I don't have access to the phones, I try not to do bits that require me to go straight to the phones.
No.
Because it's a disaster every time we try it. It's a mess. So instead, I have Nick, if I'm trying to do a survey or something, I have him look at the text, and I have him write them down. So today's survey that me and AJ was involved in it, and we were all, doing, is since we've been on for a month, do you think that the Josh Ennis show should stay on 97.5 or not? Like, are you happy with the show? And we ended up getting, in like a matter of 3 minutes, we got like over 100 votes on this.
And you thought no one listens.
And 70+% said that the show should stay.
Really?
Yeah. How about that? And that's what I try to tell people is you get a couple of negative messages from people and you would think the whole world hates what you're doing, but it's not true.
Well, people are more likely to be negative than positive, so.
Correct.
Especially on social media.
So, I mean, you think about it. I mean, over 70% of the people, I wasn't expecting, I thought they were going to say more. But I thought it was going to be more people wanting me gone than wanting me there. But yeah, so that's nice. I appreciate that.
Your boy, Bill O'Brien's trending again.
Whoa, is he wearing a dashiki? Is he urging them to make a remake for like the third time of Roots? What is his next thing?
Jamal Adams has finally demanded a trade.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the Texans are on his list of places he would accept a trade to.
Okay.
So, of course, now the running joke on social media is that Bill O'Brien's probably going to trade Deshaun Jackson.
Look at
Deshaun
you.
Watson
Yeah.
and, like the whole team and all their picks for Jamal Adams. Waka.
Waka Waka.
Although he might. Who knows?
He's not a bad player, but I don't think that's going to happen
But, of course, that's the joke. Oh, he's going to send Watson.
because that's the easy stuff.
Yes. But, yes, so Jamal Adams, Bill O'Brien, Deshaun, all trending today.
And not only was that for the Texans, but I mean, basically, like his list wasn't shocking, if I recall. It was just all teams that have a chance to do something.
It was about 7 or 8
Other
teams.
than the Texans, who don't really have a chance to do anything, but I mean, there's that at least. Also, I don't know that they necessarily need Jamal Adams. I mean, it didn't hurt, but I think the list was all good teams, right? The Ravens, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Eagles. Well, I know what today's radio was in Philadelphia. I hate when the Eagles end up on a list, right? Like when I was in Philly, because you just knew all it would be was like every one of these lame, hacky shows. Do you want to see us make a trade for Jamal Adams? Then it's a poll. Then it's a bunch of calls. Then it's a bunch of people who probably never even watched Jamal Adams play, tell you about why he sucks or why he's great. Oh, dear. I'm assuming that's what radio was like in Philadelphia today.
Well, and I think Nick Foles had a baby today. Well, his wife did, obviously. So that was probably a big thing,
That's
too.
nice. Good for them.
Their
I
second
was going
child,
to ask if they were married, but I mean, he's all religious and shit, so he wouldn't knock her up if they weren't.
Duke Nathan Foles was born on Friday, June 12th.
Yeah.
Duke Nathan.
Duke Nathan. Well, at least I appreciate Duke Nathan more than like Rocky Balboa Liberty Bell Harper or whatever the hell Bryce Harper's kid's name was.
I don't think he named him Liberty Bell. I forget the name of the child. I don't even think it was really Philadelphia.
Thanks, Hey Big Dog 2020. Listen to you on 97.5 today. You sold me on getting the podcast. I'm very happy to be here. Well, thank you, Hey Big Dog 2020. Post a link for the Just Nation t-shirts for our friend. We have a new member here.
Oh, no. Bryce Harper's kid's name is Crew. That's Krew.
Okay.
Aaron, A-R-O-N.
That's
1A.
Aaron, yeah.
1A. Crew Aaron.
Let's
Who's
see.
better, Crew Aaron or Duke Nathan? This is the poll that has
that's
to be
the
on
new poll.
WIP.
And why
on
did
the
they
Mount
not
Rushmore of babies?
in the Mount Rushmore of high-profile Philadelphia athlete babies, which one are you more disappointed is not named Liberty? Has Jason Barrett asked you to be the keynote speaker at the next BSM summit? Jason Barrett doesn't like me for whatever reason, and I don't see a situation where Jason Barrett would ever help me do anything, and he certainly doesn't want to hear my opinion on anything.
Well, when we went to his summit a couple of years ago, I feel like we were the only two there that weren't speaking.
Yeah, it was a weird situation.
Literally the only two.
Yeah. I saw AJ tell Travis Johnson he had been trying to get you on 97.5 for years. Did you know that, or was that behind the scenes? Well, I mean, I think that might be a bit of an overstatement on that one, because it's not totally true. Like, it's not like he was efforting to get me in Houston again when I had taken the job in Philly. I did get a call, not from him, but from someone else, after the Philly thing blew up in August of 2016. I did get a call from that company asking about working real talk. I got a call and they said that Joel Blank was going to be there. And it was like that Joel was going to be doing 1 to 4 and they were looking for someone to work with Joel. But that never materialized because I knew I had the 790 thing. But if I recall correctly, and I don't even remember who I talked to, and it wasn't AJ, but so now saying that AJ's been trying to get me at 97.5 for years might be an unfair thing to say. Maybe he's liked me because I know he's liked me for that long because he's told me that and we've liked each other and we've had an issue. And I said we've had no issues. We've had a nice relationship. But I do recall I was reached out to by someone at 97.5 who asked me if I would have any interest in that. And they were saying it was going to be 1 to 4 and that Joel was going to be involved in it. But I already, I knew I had this job going on at 790. So it was a non-starter.
Perhaps you should have taken the other one.
In hindsight, maybe. But, we had financially, we did very well. And we got to work together at 790. So that was the perk of it. Thanks for explaining that. The behind-scenes stuff interests me. I remember you talking about his DM when you went to Philly. Yeah, he sent me a DM, and I had never spoken with him before. And he said that he said, I'm glad you're leaving, if I recall correctly, is what it says. Like, I'm really glad you're leaving. So that's all I remember. That's the only time he and I had ever spoken. And at the time, I mean, we were pretty dominant on 610. Like, me and Rich had the most dominant show in town. I mean, it was pretty unreal how hot that was and how hot the station was at the time. We were popping. It was a really good station. Well, it wasn't a great station by the time I left, because Nick had been there for a while and Gavin had left. So it was, and I was doing wacky shit for the sake of doing wacky shit. So it wasn't a good station then.
But at one time.
But at one time, I'd say like late 2010 into early or late 2012, that was a strong, strong radio station, and nobody else mattered. I mean, 790 wasn't a player. I mean, we didn't even know what 97.5 was, to tell you the truth, when we were rocking, you know. But then Gavin left, and then I left, and it kind of opened up the marketplace again when the two of us left, and it did. And it opened things up, and now it's just a battle of, you know, 3 stations just vying for a handful of listeners. Is 610 the original sports radio station? It is, yes. It was, and then 790 followed, and then 97.5 followed that. Can we prank call rural radio stations this Saturday? What rural radio stations do you know that are live and local at like 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday?
I can't think of any.
That you'd have a better chance of calling them at 8 in the morning for the swap shop or the trade and post or whatever. So you'd have a much better chance there. Let's see here. Let's see. 610 in that time period was my intro to sports. I had high hopes, and now it's mostly a boring letdown. Well, that's most. A lot of sports radio is a boring letdown, and who knows where we're going to end up next on that, if it's even going to be on sports radio. Who even knows? I don't know.
On the radio.
Jilly, I don't need your negativity. Your pessimism is not needed here.
It's not pessimism, it's realism.
I don't need your, well, you better hope we end up doing something.
I am, yeah.
You better hope that something ends up happening there. I mean, obviously the podcast does very well, and someday it will be everything.
As I said, I'm more of the real, like, yes. I don't consider myself negative. I like to plan things, though. So that's what I told you. You know, you've got your slush fund, as it were.
Yeah.
And so I've had this conversation where, like, we need to kind of plan out, like, how many months of that you have left before you and I need to go actually find a job in the meantime. Because it's not as easy as just like applying at the HEB and boom, you have a job.
That's
true. It could take a couple months, especially for 2 jamokes here who don't have college degrees or experience really doing anything else other than radio. College
degrees are overrated anyway.
They are, but you got to have them to get a job in most cases.
College degrees, vastly overrated. Well, I'm sure somebody can offer a...
I had a friend who worked at a fancy hotel chain here who had a lie about having a college degree. They just never...
They never checked?
No. Well, she always would wear her, this looks to give it away, but her duck gear.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just assumed she went to Oregon.
And then she got a nice job out of that,
she was a manager. She started at the front desk and, like, made her way up to, I believe she was, like, the event planning manager or something. So she, like, did all the weddings and stuff. Never had done it in their life. Yeah.
College, as it stands, will be dead in 10 years, says Go-Go Gadget Wang. I think there's a lot of things that could be dead in 10 years, and it wouldn't be bad, or at least reformed. I'm not a huge fan of the, a huge fan of the idea that I hate the word reform so much because, I mean, everybody throws it out there now. It's just kind of overplayed, right? But I think there are ways. Like, I like to listen to Joe Rogan, and he said something that I actually disagree with today in regards to the shooting in Atlanta, which was that we need to get to a point where guys like that aren't being arrested, and not the cop, but the drunk driver.
Oh, yeah, people wanted him just to tell him to, like, walk home or give him a ride
or to
home.
give him call him an Uber. And I'm like, fine, if that's eventually how it becomes, fine, but at this very moment, it is illegal to be a drunk driver. That, like, people don't, that because the guy didn't kill anybody while driving drunk, it was just, no, he was a drunk driver and he was still drunk. And if you want to change it that driving drunk is legal, and if you pull somebody over for driving drunk, you send them home in an Uber, fine. But I think people have these really big ambitions for this stuff. Like, it's like the people that are committing the crimes / doing the thing that's wrong, it's like we want to do anything we can to protect them in some way. Like, oh, this guy who drove hammered could have killed somebody. Well, let's just call him a cab and let him sleep it off and go home. Now, in fairness to Rogan, he said then you maybe write him a ticket and he figures it out in court, but there's no need to arrest him. Okay, he was going to arrest him. The guy ran. And not only did he run, punched the dudes in the face and fought the dudes. So while it could say, it'd be a great thing if in 10 years you can drive hammered and a cop pulls you over and he says, let me call you an Uber and we'll go about our day. That's not the way it works right now.
Yeah, until you get drunk and belligerent and then you punch the Uber driver.
Correct. And the thing is, people tend to ignore what could happen, right? Like what could happen in all of this is you could say, all right, I'll let you off with a warning. Like how with a clear conscience could a cop just be in that situation and go, sleep it off in your car? Because what if the cop leaves and the guy goes, well, shit, I'm getting out of here.
Right. Well, I think
and drives off
a lot
and
of people
kills himself
had
or
said
somebody else,
in those 40 minutes that they spent talking, that they should have just let him call like a family member to come pick him up.
But it doesn't change the fact that the guy was clearly bombed and drove somewhere. And like that does matter. And listen, we've all done it. We've all been in a situation before where we had too much to drink and drove, and we're lucky we made it home and didn't kill someone or ourselves. I get that. And if you want to tell me that at some point in life, things, could be a little bit lax. Like I've talked about it with speeding tickets, right? Like I think the cops should not be there trying to bust you for going 65 and a 60. They should be there so when you're going 65 and a 60 and they see you, it kind of registers in your mind like, oh shit, I'm going a little fast. Like it shouldn't just be guys out trying to hunt people down so they can write them a ticket for going 5 miles over the speed limit. I do think there are certain crimes and certain things and certain things that people do that you could say, all right, let's figure out a way where we're not loading up the jails and throwing people in jail for some of these things. Now, rape or a violent crime is a different thing. Now, the argument could be that if you let people get away with the small stuff, eventually they kind of test the waters on the bigger stuff. It's kind of like, hey, pot's not that big a deal, but maybe pot leads you to doing blow leads you to crack and heroin.
I also don't know that I would consider like drunk driving a small thing.
And that was the part that I was kind of off on.
I mean,
because it is a big deal.
Kills a lot of people.
But it also doesn't treat people like nobody that gets a DUI, like nobody, like it's a very lax thing. Like how many people you see are like sixth offense DUI and you're like, what the fuck? Like it's not really that strict of a law as it is. But like, and Joe brings up personal responsibility. I talk about that a lot. There's a lack of personal responsibility. Everybody just wants to blame the rules, thus move the goalpost and say, well, I broke the rules, but the rules need to be changed so I wouldn't have been breaking those rules if the rules weren't in place. Like me, like growing up with my dad, we make fun of my dad all the time. And my dad is a very flawed human being. But my dad would always tell me, and he's instilled this in me. He's like, Josh, do not embarrass me. Don't do anything stupid. He was always the be careful dad. He's like, don't go out there and do anything stupid. He was pissed the first time I ever got hammered. Up until like a couple of years ago, he would always be judgmental of me every time I got hammered. Like, that's just kind of how my dad was and is. That's who my dad is.
My friend's mom would always tell us, just don't let me see you in the newspaper. Don't care what you do. Don't let me see you in the newspaper.
Well, and that's the thing is, at some point, you do have to have some responsibility. It's like we're trying to make it to the point where people, like, it's not good to have personal responsibility. You have to bitch about the rules. It's not the person that broke the rules. It's the rules that suck. We must change the rules. And I disagree with that. Now, I do think there are some things, as I said, that can be a little bit more lax. Speeding, for instance. Someone should not be paying hundreds of dollars in tickets because somebody was going 5 miles over the speed limit,
But you could
right?
argue that could kill someone, too, going too fast.
It could. But, like, if someone's going 100 and a 50, okay, flag them down. If there's, like, a 10-mile per window there where it could be a simple case if you got a lead foot and you kind of lost track of how fast. A lot of times, like, I'll not know what the speed limit is. Because it'll change. A lot of towns, like you can go through a 70 to a 60 to a 65 and it changes. So, and I know that a lot of cars now make it easier because they actually know the speed limit in your car. It'll say it on the thing in a lot of cases. But like your car's a little bit older, it doesn't have that. So every now and then I'll get a lead foot. It happened to us last week coming back from Sugar Land. Like I saw a cop on the highway. I was going 70 and a 60. Second I saw him, I eased up off the gas and said, all right, that's like my warning. That's
I feel
good.
like you were going a little faster than 70.
It was like, no, there was a time I was going about 80.
Yeah.
It might have been going 80 and a 70 or 82 and a 70. It might have been
65.
But like you start, but sometimes you start going and you don't realize you're going that fast. So you need a reminder like, oh, by the way, ease up off the gas and everything is fine. And then that's what they're there for, to kind of give you that warning. I'm okay with that because I don't think you need to be throwing people in jail for random shit. Throw them in jail for the really bad shit. If a guy gets caught with some pot, they don't need to be in jail. If a guy's selling some pot, guys shouldn't be in jail. I don't believe guys should be in jail. If people want to buy blow from someone, let them buy blow from someone. Like those are the things that don't really concern me. You want to throw someone in jail for raping a woman, do it. You want to throw someone in jail for, killing someone, do it. Manslaughter, murder, throw those people in jail. I do believe that we could kind of scale back. My problem is, again, there is a lack of accountability. Now, you could say it's because I'm a white guy. I've never had an issue with a cop. I've never, when I get pulled over, and I think this is important, and especially, and I've heard a lot of black men say this, that their parents told them growing up, if a cop pulls you over or whatever, yes, sir, no, sir, I know I was in the wrong, and move on. The problem you're running into now is there's a lot of combative people, and we're kind of promoting this world of being combative towards police officers, right? Being combative towards authority. So they're on edge. You're on edge. The combination of the two can cause this combustible thing that breaks everything up. It's not a bad thing to just be polite to an officer. Now, they might be a jerk to you. Who knows? But when I get pulled over, it's as simple as I tell them, I was going too fast. You caught me. I don't argue it. I'm just like, you got me. That's the way anytime I see a cop pull up behind us, I'm like, shit, he got me. Always. That's the first thing I say. And then when they stop, and they come over, do you know what you did? Absolutely. I was going way too damn fast. You caught me. Why were you going so fast? Where are you headed in such a hurry, son? I had to go catch a flight. Or I was the last time I got pulled over by a cop was in between St. Louis and Poplar Bluff. I was trying to get to St. Louis to catch a flight. I had next to no gas. I was on E, and I told the officer the truth. I said, listen, I was speeding to try to get to a gas station, and I knew I was going too fast, but I didn't want to run out of gas. To which he says, well, you realize going fast isn't going to help you save gas. I'm like, okay, fine, but this is why I was doing it. I'm letting you know why I was doing it. And he said, and then, asked for my license, and he said, I'll let you off on this. I'm not opposed to that. And
there was one time, though, where you kind of nailed yourself. Remember we were driving to that Buc-ee's, the baby Buc-ee's, and where was it? It was past Sugarland.
In, Wharton.
Yeah. So we did that one night, right? This is when I worked till midnight. So we went at midnight.
Yeah.
And we were driving back, and the cop pulled you over, and you're like, yeah, I was probably going a little too fast. He's like, no, actually, your tail light was out. But now that you bring that up, and you're like, okay.
And then he was suspicious of me. He's like, where are you headed at midnight all the way? I'm like, we're going to Buc-ee's. Guy goes, well, there's a Buc-ee's in Sugarland. I go, but sir, that's a baby Buc-ee's. Yes. I was going to the big one out in Wharton.
I wanted the barbecue sandwich.
Josh, you're speaking to me. I've sat through 2 different kick doors in 2 different towns being busted for selling some pot. Not even all that much. Cops go after money and people who pay. Oops, I lost that. Hold on. The comments are moving fast on here. Cops go after money and people who pay their bail and can hire lawyers, all that stuff. They let a pedo out of jail to snitch on me, and he ended up raping another child. Disgusting. I have no issue with people who are out. You sell some pot, you buy some pot. That should not be something that they're sending you to jail for, especially when there's parts of the damn country where it's legal to smoke pot. That's the part. You talk about states' rights. The idea that somehow in one state you can be smoking pot and it's all good. You smoke some pot in another place, and a cop, if he's being an asshole that day, can throw you in jail for it. It's stupid. I'm not breaking up this cop circle jerk by commenting on some terrible police behavior. Carry on. Oh, Mills Lane, hello. Listen, I'm not telling you that the cops are perfect and that everything they do is right, and I would never say that to you. I don't believe that. There's a lot of flaws in this. I also believe there are a lot of people who are completely just not accountable for what they do, and the world has come to these people's defense, and instead of saying, hey, maybe better, be a better human being, and maybe stop fucking up, it's, well, we need to change some rules here. There's got to be some level of accountability, and a lot of people aren't accountable. Did you see that SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey says that Mississippi must change their state flag if they want SEC championships in the state? Thoughts on that? I would ask what SEC championship sports they're going to play in. Are you saying that they can't host SEC championship games? I might be a moron here, but what SEC championship sporting events are being hosted in Mississippi? Most of them are in Georgia or New Orleans or Nashville or in Birmingham, Alabama. So where exactly would those be? Let's see here. Cops suck. I hate them. I also recognize they're the law and have a gun. I don't want to be shot. It's not a circle jerk. It's about not dying. I would agree with that. Let's see. The left is never accountable. The politicians in general aren't accountable, but the left, as you put it, the Democrats in all of this are here to appease people by fighting for name changes and wearing scarves and all that, and they don't get shit done. But it is what it is. What's even in Mississippi? Probably some meth, if I had to guess.
A really shitty La Quinta.
Hillbillies.
Probably a lot of really shitty La Quintas, but one that we stayed in.
Yeah, in where was that?
Meridian,
Mississippi. Mississippi is a hellhole of a state. Like, you think Louisiana's a hellhole. At least we got, New Orleans, a party town, LSU, Baton Rouge. Let me tell you, son, Mississippi ain't no fun. There is nothing pleasant. There's nothing metropolitan about Mississippi. There's like farm animals in Mississippi and not a ton of teeth.
I also like that time that we had this great idea to book 2 nights at the Harris in Biloxi. Like, all right, beach trip.
Yep, not a good idea.
We didn't even go to the beach because I don't think there really was one.
Yeah, not a... And we ended up staying the night only because we found a better sports book there. But outside of that...
We ate the money on the second night. We did not stay 2 nights.
Yep, not a great place. We just ate that money. We said, let's just leave. The Harris was so gross and it smelled like cigarettes.
Because we were saying how we hadn't had like a beach trip, like a Florida, Destin, or Fort Lauderdale trip in 3 years. And so last year, we should save some money. We don't have a job. Let's just go where we can drive and it's quick. And I know we could drive to Destin, but Destin's far more expensive because it's much nicer than Biloxi.
Yeah. So we got cheap with it.
Yeah.
And we should have just driven a little bit further and gone somewhere nicer.
At least like Alabama or something. My goodness.
Yeah. Not exactly the most brilliant decision we've ever made. But we are going to Baton Rouge on this day in 2 weeks. Probably going to take the first week or so of July off from the podcast. So there's that. That'll be our first time taking time off from the podcast since December. So all you people that said I was going to quit.
Since September, you mean?
No, we took like 2 weeks off in December. Yeah, we did.
Did we?
We took off do you think we did this on Christmas?
Maybe.
We didn't. I think we took off the last 2 weeks. We came back on December 31st. I think we took the last week and a half, 2 weeks off.
Maybe it just feels like we didn't because I feel like there was, still football and things and stuff and we were doing post shows.
Maybe.
But I'm pretty sure we didn't stop doing it.
I think we did. I can tell you for a fact when we look at the actual podcast and we can look at the dates, but none of that matters. We've taken very little time off doing this because all you guys said, oh, you'll quit. You'll quit. I know you will. Well, here I am, bitches. I have not quit.
Oh, yeah, I guess we did. How about that?
Yep. So we've taken very little time off doing this. Now, tomorrow we'll probably get into the NFL stuff. Tomorrow's Friday, right? That's good.
It is.
Because I haven't even talked about the idea that the NFL could be playing, with the NFL's even going to happen because of Fauci. I've seen people talk about Fauci. Of course, that's infallible Fauci, who the media just absolutely adores. The same Fauci that happens to be wrong many times, but we can talk about Fauci, among other things. So let me stop.
We have one more spot to do.
Oh, boy, my bad. Well, look at you guys. Look at what I almost did. I almost went and missed a sponsorship. All right.
Harbor Classic, though.
Harbor Classic. That's our friend Gamma. Gamma, 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 chameleon. Sounds like something. What a... that thing Dad did was so bad that I didn't even want to replay it and make fun of it. I was embarrassed that it played. I felt so horrible about it.
How many shares and stuff did it get, though?
6.
I guess maybe he won't do another one. 'Cause 6 shares is low for him.
Yeah, maybe he realized that it's just not working. Free Speech Friday tomorrow. There is no Free Speech Friday. Free Speech Friday is dead and gone for the time being. But Harbor Classic Builders in League City, building high-quality homes for over 20 years since 1999. From the foundation crew to the landscape, they've assembled a great team that specializes in country estates to high-end luxury homes. Several of their homeowners have chosen to build a second and third time, which, of course, is the ultimate compliment. And here's the thing. And I just, They will help you out with every aspect of building the home. Architect, engineer, interior designer, construction loan. They'll put you in contact with hand-picked experts who they've partnered with, and they just go the extra mile for you. They're far above average. They're excellent. Don't settle for an average builder. And of course, Murphy Yates, who's the owner, is a founding member of Operation Finally Home, which builds mortgage-free homes for wounded veterans throughout the country. They've built over 100 homes there. They are awesome. 281-960-3900. 281-960-3900. Harbor Classic Builders. Check them out on Facebook. There you go. I see some people just joining the party saying, hey, did I miss everything? Well, the show starts at 7 Central now, kiddos. So you can't get here at 8 now. You got to get here at 7. Got to get here at 7 Central. So anyway, let me end the. All ready to go, and I forgot to do the sponsor.
You sure did.
We will say goodbye to the podcast audience. Said goodbye to them. There we go. And there. Tomorrow, don't miss the Josh Ennis Show on radio. I think Meltzer's going to join us in the 3 o'clock hour, I believe. I'll check and confirm all that. I'll confirm. I mean, like, here's the thing about Meltzer, right? So, like, I'll text with Meltzer, and he'll, like here's our last text conversation with me and Meltzer, okay? Let me see here. So this was last night. He just can't get to the point on anything, right? Here it is. It says, hello. This was at 9:29. Okay. Hello. To which I say, hello. What's up? Alive, he says.
Fair.
That's a positive, I say. To which he responds, I had crawfish today. To which I say, where? To which he says, BB's. To which I say, solid. To which he says, how was your radio program? To which I say, average. To which he says, fair. To which I say, you want to come up Friday? To which he says, I should be able to. To which I said, sweet. And that was where our conversation ended. So when I tell you that he may be coming up tomorrow, I'm assuming he may come up tomorrow.
Yes.
But I don't know for sure. I have to confirm. So anyway, but you guys are wonderful. Hey, and by the way, if you guys haven't subscribed, since you guys are big loyal Gissers on YouTube, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, I've been posting clips. I've been posting clips from this show on YouTube. It's on the Josh Ennis Show Clips YouTube channel, which is the same channel that we used to use, just called Josh Ennis Show Clips now. But you can follow that and go watch some of those videos and, whatever, get those views up. If you're looking for a way to, help us out without spending any money, there you go. Watch those videos, dadgummit. Watch them. But anyway,